before we calculate the consumer surplus and the producer surplus. Okay, so let's calculate them. So consumer surplus, negative 3x squared over 2 plus 7x from 0 to 1 minus 4. So when I plug in 1, I get negative 3 halves plus 7. Luckily, when I plug in 0, I get nothing. So I have negative 1.5, although I prefer fractions, and plus 3. So this is $1.5. So we are paying total $4, but we're actually, without getting the money in hand, we're really getting an extra of 1.5. Now the producer surplus, same thing, same 4 minus 2x squared over 2 plus 2x from 0 to 1. So when I plug in 1, I get minus 1 and minus 2. When I plug in 0, I get nothing. So this is $1. So they are charging us 4, but they should have charged us 3 because this is their surplus. This is the little extra they get because we buy 4 because we buy 4 units at the price of 1, because we buy 1 unit at the price of $4 per unit. That's all there is to it. And that is the producer surplus. That's the entire section 5.1. Now you tell me what we need to continue with. And then we'll look at a word problem. Anything else you'd like to look at? Okay, I will choose 9. And we have d of x equals 5 minus x, and we have s of x, the square root of x plus 7. And they're telling us to only look for x between 0 and 5 units. So 5 minus x and the square root of x plus 7. Okay, so the same question. We're asked to find the equilibrium point, and then the consumer surplus and the producer surplus at the equilibrium point. Okay, so as you mentioned before, Kylie said so. So d of x equals s of x. So 5 minus x equals the square root of x plus 7. How do we solve such an equation? What do we need to do? Anyone remembers how to solve such an equation? What type it is? And how do we continue? Anyone remembers how to solve such an equation? What type of equation is it? Please say something, please. Anyone? Is anyone with me? No one?
Do we need to simplify the square root?
We cannot. Very good point. Thank you for saying that. So the square root of a plus b is carved in stone. No one can simplify this if it's plus or minus under the square root. So the only possibility is to square both sides. The left-hand side has three terms, 25 minus 10x plus x squared, and the right-hand side is x plus 7. So this is a radical equation, and we have to square both sides to eliminate the radical. In order to eliminate the radical, maybe that's what you meant. If that's what you meant, that's fine. But we cannot simplify. So we can only eliminate it by squaring both sides. So the first term squared minus 2 times the first times the second plus the second term squared. And then I square this side. So now it's quadratic. I have to set it equal to 0. So I have x squared minus 11x and plus 18 equals 0. And I will factor into x minus 2 and x minus 9. And I have two options, x equals 2 and x equals 9. Not so fast, because we are specifying, they're mentioning that we should only consider x between 0 and 5 units. So I will have to disregard x equals 9. Of course, I will go back and check. 5 minus 2 is 3. 2 plus 7 is 9. The square root of 9 is 3. So 3 equals 3. This is correct. So I determine the x coordinate of the equilibrium point. So the equilibrium point has x equals 2. And now we have to find the y value. No problem. Again, 2 plus 7 is 9. The square root of 9 is 3. In parts B and C, very easy. The consumer surplus and the producer surplus. Again, this is, of course, 0 to 2 from the demand function, 5 minus x dx, minus this product, base times height. The producer surplus is the other way around. This product minus the integral from 0 to 2, but from the other function, from the supply function, which is the square root of x plus 7 dx. And now we have to calculate part B and part C. Let's stop for a moment and see if you have any questions. Any questions before we continue? Is this okay? Okay, nobody says anything, so I'm not sure if everybody's following or not. I can only hope. So, the consumer surplus, 5x minus x squared over 2, from 0 to 2 minus 6. So when I plug in 2, I get 10 minus 4 divided by 2 is 2, and minus 6, so this is $2. That's the consumer surplus. Now, for the producer surplus, I have 6 minus. I'm going to copy it as is. Here I have to use a substitution. Can anyone come up with a substitution for us? Anyone, please?
The x plus 7.
Of course. Thank you so much, Carly. And dy equals dx. Yay! Very nice. So 6 minus, do not copy the limits of integration ever. When x is 0, y is 7. When x is 2, y is 9. And this is y to 1/2 dy. Good. 6 minus, y to 3/2 over 3/2 from 7 to 9. And that equals 6 minus, flip, 2/3, 9 to 3/2 minus 7 to 3/2. I'm going to put all this in the graphing calculator because we have to get an approximation. So I'm going to share that. Where's my calculator? Right here. Good. So I have 6 minus 2/3 and 9 to 3/2, which is 1.5, and then minus 7 to the same power, and that's it. I'm checking. 6 minus 2/3 correct. 9 to 3/2, which is 1. Yep. So I got 35 cents, 0.35 approximately. So that is the consumer surplus. So every time, the producer surplus. So every time we purchase 2 units at the price of 3 per unit, in other words, we pay $6, the producer is getting really a little bit more out of us. It's getting an extra of 0.35. Any questions? Do we need another examples of this kind before we look at a word problem? Do we get the idea? Is it difficult? Yes, please. You can choose anything you want. 5 through 14, anything.
Reading 14.
Okay, very good. So let's look at 14. But do we understand the mechanism overall? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Thank you. 14, 480. So we have the demand, 13 minus x, and the supply, the square root of x plus 17. And they're kind of confusing us. Okay, with x between 0 and 13. Okay. And then they put again x greater than or equal to 0. Okay. Makes no sense. But it doesn't matter. That's what we're looking for. Good. So this is the same type. It's going to be a radical equation. I meant to write s of x. So 13 minus x equals the square root of x plus 17. This is a radical equation. The same method applies here. So 169 minus 26x plus x squared equals x plus 17. The first term squared minus 2 times the first times the second plus the second term squared equals this squared. Quadratic. So x squared minus 27x and plus what? 152. Am I correct? Yes. Okay. I'm going to use the apps on this. Okay, number 9. Yes, quadratic. Yes. Yes, the first coefficient is, oh, I didn't mean that. I meant this. Okay. Yes, this is the first. And then we have negative 27. And then we have 152. Good. So now I want answers. So I have x equals 8 and x equals 19. First of all, I have to check 8. So this is 5 and this is 5. And when I check 19, 19 doesn't even work anyway. Because 13 minus 19 is negative 6, and this side, the square root, will never be negative. It's positive 6. Good. So this is indeed between 0 and 13. That's fine. So we did find the equilibrium point with x being 8, and now I have to find the y value. So 13 minus 8 is 5. So we're paying $40 for 8 units at $5 per unit. So now the consumer surplus and producer surplus, the formulas. The integral from 0 to 8 from the demand function minus this product. 8 units at $5 per unit, we are paying $40. The producer surplus is the other way around. It's 40 minus the integral from 0 to 8, but not from the same function, from the supply function. So the square root of x plus 17 dx. Any questions on these so far before we calculate? Any questions on how to write the consumer surplus? Any questions on how to write the producer surplus? Okay, so let's look at the consumer surplus and calculate. So the consumer surplus will be 13x minus x squared over 2 from 0 to 8 and minus 40. I'm only going to plug in 8. 104 minus 16 divided by 2, so I'm sorry, 64. Sorry, 64 divided by 2, which is 32, and minus 40. So this is 104 minus 72, and I get 32. Now the producer surplus is 40 minus the integral from 0 to 8 from the square root of x plus 17 dx. Like before, we need to use a substitution here. So let y be anybody?
X plus 17.
Very good. Indeed, thank you very much. So luckily dy equals dx. Do not copy the limits of integration, please. When x is 0, y is 17. When x is 8, y is 25. From y, the square root of y, which is y to 1/2 dy. So this is 40 minus y to 3/2 over 3/2 from 17 to 25. So 40 minus 25 to 3/2 minus 17 to 3/2, and I have to flip 2/3. I will put in the graphing calculator. I need an approximation anyway. And yes, you can do this. So I'm going to do it in 2 ways. So I have 40 minus 2/3, 25 to power 1.5 minus 17 to power 1.5. Oh my goodness. It would help if I would pay attention. Okay, 1.5. Yes, bring it down, minus 17 to power 1.5. Sorry about that. And close. Okay, I'm checking. 40 minus 2/3, correct. 25 to 1.5, 17 to 1.5. Perfect. So it's $3.40. Yes, you can also check with, don't forget to put the 40 in front. Insert 40 minus. Okay, so the integral from the beginning, from 0 to 8, from the square root of x plus 17, of course dx. I don't know why they don't put it in the calculator, because there is only one option, but anyway. So when I hit enter, I should get this number. If I don't, I have to go back to the drawing board. So it's indeed $3.40. And this was 14. Any questions? Any questions? So let's look at a word problem. They are basically exactly the same, nothing special. Beth enjoys skydiving and is willing to pay $P per jump for X jumps, where P, or the demand function, is 7.5. Let me copy. So this gives us even more insight of the meaning of demand